have to shout because I'm in Switzerland. Can you hear me? Okay. When I was a young man, my mother once told me this: Roger, throughout your life, you will be faced with many difficult questions and quandaries. My advice to you, when you are, is this: read, read, read. Listen to all sides of the argument, especially from those you don't always agree with. Research thoroughly. When you have, you will have done all the heavy lifting. The next bit is easy. So what is the next bit, Mum? Then you just do the right thing.
The invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation was illegal. I condemn it in the strongest possible terms. Also, the Russian invasion of Ukraine was not unprovoked. So I also condemn the provocateurs in the strongest possible terms.
So, on behalf of the silent majority, I now address President Biden. Let us be very clear, Mr. President. I speak for the voiceless majority. You and Anthony Blinken and Victoria Nuland and Jake Sullivan and the rest of the warmongering neocons at the heart of government here in Washington, along with the vassal states in NATO, are the principal provocateurs that I mentioned. I am not apologizing for Mr. Putin, you understand, but just to glance fleetingly back at the history of the last 30 years or so, you could have done better. You could have followed President Gorbachev's lead in 1989. You could have kept Secretary of State Baker's promise not to advance NATO 1 yard closer to the Russian border than the eastern extremities of a reunited Germany. You could have responded to President Putin's overtures in his famous 10th of February 2007 speech at the Security Conference in Munich, and shepherded us all towards a much, much safer Europe. Or, in 2008, you could have chosen not to expand NATO eastwards. Or, in 2014, you could have refrained from engineering the illegal Maidan coup d'etat in Ukraine. Or, in 2019, you could have supported the Minsk Accords. Now we're told by Angela Merkel they were just a ruse to buy time to arm Ukraine for the war that you were engineering. But they were also, the Minsk Accords that is, the platform that President Zelensky ran on during his presidential campaign. Well, you fooled me, President Zelensky. I thought you meant all that stuff about ending the civil war in the Donbass and giving Russia, your neighbor, some security assurances. I thought you were coming to your senses. Not a bit of it. In 2022, February, March and April, you could have told Boris Johnson not to fly to Kiev to scupper the peace negotiations, but you chose not to. And then, in September 2022, according to world-renowned investigative reporter Seymour Hersh, you blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. If that turns out to be true, a blatant act of war and an extreme act of global terrorism, releasing, as it did, 300,000 tons of methane into the atmosphere over the Baltic Sea. First you, Mr. President, boasted openly about your intention and ability to do it. And then recently, Victoria Newland boasts about how pleased she is that it's a, quote, hunk of junk at the bottom of the sea. And Antony Blinken boasts how perfectly its destruction suits the US imperial agenda. And now, to cap it all off, you have your idiot mouthpiece, Nick Price, deny that the USA had anything to do with it. We have heard no statement from you, Mr. President. There is no mainstream media coverage. I guess you and the mainstream media think Cy Hershey's piece and the mysterious exploding pipeline is just of no interest to the people. Enough is enough. We demand change. Do the right thing. Implement a ceasefire in Ukraine today. Imagine the collective sigh of relief across the globe, the outpouring of joy, the international joining of voices in harmony, singing an anthem to peace. Imagine John Lennon pumping the air with his fist from beyond the grave. You have finally been heard in the corridors of power. The big, dumb bullies in the schoolyard have agreed to stop playing nuclear chicken. Together, we the people can persuade the powers that be to drop the model of perpetual war as their accepted modus operandum. With the power of love, we will stop them from squandering our precious resources on their wars. We will be able to feed our children and keep them sheltered from the storm. We may even learn to cooperate with all our brothers and sisters of different ethnicities, religions, and nationalities and save this, our beautiful planet home, from destruction. Wouldn't that be nice?